As you've probably noticed, Portland has a coffee obsession. According to the Willamette Weekly, aside from the typical corporate coffee giants like Starbucks, Peet's, Seattle's Best, and Dutch Brothers, last November, Portland boasted a whopping 36 local coffee roasting companies, not including the 2 in Beaverton, 1 in Gladstone, 1 in Gresham, 1 in Hillsborough, 1 in Forest Grove, and the 3 by our neighbors to the north in Vancouver, Washington. Take that number and multiply it by a lot, and you'll get the number of coffee shops in Portland that sell these local beans and brews. They're in every neighborhood, and none of them seem to be hurting for business. Some Portlanders joke that you can sit in one coffee shop and sip your morning coffee while watching a new coffee shop open across the street. So when we saw the results from the 2005 study National Coffee Drinking Trends, published by the National Coffee Association USA, which claimed that 53% of consumers aged 18 and older drink coffee on a daily basis, that number seemed a little low.
The National Coffee Association USA, Inc., established in 1911, is one of the earliest trade associations formed in the United States and the first trade association for the U.S. coffee industry. Whatever issue has impacted the coffee trade, the association has represented the U.S. coffee industry before the legislative and executive branches of government, including the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and congressional committees. In other words, they know their shit. The NCA surveyed 300 people in 2005 about their coffee drinking habits, and among many other conclusions drawn, they landed on 53% as the proportion of daily coffee drinkers in the U.S.
Because this number seems so low to us coffee-loving Northwesterners, we decided to see if it has increased since 2005. We hypothesized that more than 53% of consumers in the U.S., age 18 and older, drink coffee on a daily basis. We conducted our survey with the help of SurveyMonkey and our social media sites to gather a large enough sample size. We successfully gathered 305 participants within the first few days of our survey being online. We also wanted to know if there were any other factors that contributed to the participants' coffee drinking status. Our only requirement for participants was that they be 18 years of age or older. We asked questions about age, lifestyle, and student status to find out whether or not there was a possible correlation between these factors and coffee drinking. Even more significant to the data, in our opinion, was whether or not living in the Pacific Northwest coffee-crazed region influences coffee consumption. We asked for our own curiosity if the participants lived in the Pacific Northwest to see if we could gain some insight.
After collection and analysis of our data, our results show that out of 305 people that answered the question, "Are you a daily coffee drinker?" on our survey, 69.84% of our participants answered yes. That's nearly 70%, quite a significant leap from the findings of the National Coffee Association. With our calculations, we can say with 99% confidence that there is enough evidence to support our claim that more than 53% of consumers in the United States, age 18 and older, drink coffee on a daily basis.
Creating a survey that eliminates all bias is very difficult. That being said, there are a few elements of our survey that could have presented some skewed answers. One very simple characteristic was the title of our survey, "What kind of coffee drinker are you?" Something as minor as having the word coffee in the title could deter participants that don't drink coffee. People that are coffee drinkers are much more likely to click on a survey than those that don't. In addition, our survey was accessible online, which cut out a lot of possible participants. Generally, internet users that frequent blogs and Facebook are part of a younger population, which limits our age range. Finally, most of the data was collected from online users located in the Pacific Northwest, which has a substantial coffee market. In fact, a little more than half of our respondents are currently living in either Oregon or Washington, where the coffee is part of our culture.
We asked some questions on our survey for our own personal curiosity that did not pertain to our hypothesis, and we found some of the results interesting. For example, Of the daily coffee drinkers surveyed, approximately 43% of them drink an average of 2 cups of coffee per day. Another interesting find was that of the daily coffee drinkers who responded, 41% of them only brew their coffee at home, while 52% of our daily coffee drinkers both brew at home and frequent coffee shops. Only 7% of our coffee drinkers skip making coffee at home and get their coffee solely from a coffee shop.
In conclusion, our findings supported the hypothesis that the percentages of people who drink coffee every day has risen since 2005. Our results showed with 99% confidence that 69.8% of the 305 surveyed drink at least 1 cup of coffee every day. That's an almost 17% increase from the National Coffee Association's 2005 survey. Although there could be many reasons for this increase, it may be in part due to the fact that over half of our participants were living in the Pacific Northwest. A general national study would need to be done to see if the increase is also true in the U.S. as a whole. Other studies would need to be done to try and determine the cause of the raise in daily coffee drinkers.